All right. Another week after a week off from the podcast. We're back. That makes it 13 weeks?
16.
Oh, 7 out of 16 weeks, which is pretty incredible stuff. Obviously, we're with PGA Tour Pro Dice here, who has six of those wins. I have one. But that's two out of the three last PGA Tour events. We had Ryan Fox, 70 to 1, and now we had Potgieter, 120 to 1.
Yeah.
So it's been a good run. We've definitely been profitable as a podcast so far, and just a matter of time before the people start recognizing we got some potential in the betting markets.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, just for the week itself, Geeter, he's a guy that almost is like a reason that we started the podcast in a sense. He had that week in Mexico where I had him then when he lost in the playoff to Brian Campbell. And that's, I think, the week after is when we actually started to record when the Florida swing got going. So, I mean, almost came full circle there for the Geeter. I mean, he obviously such a talented player, just 20 years old, hits the ball farther than anybody else in the world. And honestly, he was finally able to get over some of those demons that he's had on Sundays. I think he had a lead on the DP World Tour as well by like two or three at the Ned Bank like last year at some
Yes, in
point.
South Africa.
Yeah, in South Africa, he had obviously the Mexico. He was up by I think it might have only been one at the time, and then obviously heading into Sunday the other yesterday, he was up by two. So was able to really just get over those demons of coming into the lead on Sunday and actually pulling off his first PGA Tour win. But 120 to 1, seven winners on the year so far. Just a really solid season, and obviously got a little bit left still.
Yeah, no, he's extremely talented. I mean, to 20 years old, he's breaking 190 ball speed every single drive. It looks like he's not even trying to do it. And
Oh,
he's got his irons now. He really has a nice controlled shot
yeah.
where he's not swinging full at it, right? He's not zipping the ball back. He's got a nice controlled swing where,
Hmm.
it's the sky's the limit for him. As we know, his short game is the problem.
Yeah. It
He's
was
missed,
better.
I mean, he's made four cuts this year, I think, and has missed six or seven, and two of the missed made cuts were in playoffs, right? So when he's playing good golf and it's on a course he's comfortable with right now,
Yeah.
he's a problem. But as time goes on, he'll figure it out. I mean, he's been a winner his whole life, right? He won the British Amateur, I think it's called, which is a massive amateur event when he was 17.
Yep.
Then he won Corn Ferry event, right, when he was what, 18,
Youngest, I think he was the youngest
19?
winner ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's always had a knack for winning, and now you never know what's going to happen, right? He can peel off a couple, right? Now he'll be in the Scottish,
Yeah.
he'll be in the Open, getting back to not similar to South Africa, but he's played a lot of golf over there, right? He won that British Amateur Championship, which is links golf. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him play well in his next couple starts.
Yeah, for sure. I just think, when you drive the ball that far, if you have like obviously going back to Colonial, he hit the irons a little bit better when he put the new ones in the bag. And then, of course, this week he hit the irons pretty well. If you have a decent approach game and he's getting it out there that far and, honestly pretty accurate, obviously this course a bit more open than most and a bit more forgiving, but still was able to get it out there and was pretty accurate for the week as a whole. And if you have irons in a decent spot and the way he rolls it, which is, he's top 30 on tour this year, it's just such like it's really hard to, not be competing if your game is on with that type of tool set.
Yeah, and he was what, one over through five.
Yeah, he
Shaky
birdied the
start.
first, yeah, birdied the first, and obviously had the two bogeys. But he said in his after he won in the presser that once he was trailing a little bit, it just freed him up and was able to just play his game again rather than thinking about having the lead and like controlling that, just going out and attacking the course, which is obviously when he's at his best.
Yeah, it was a great week for the pot. Greyserman, solid golf again. I mean, he pipes the ball. He was out there with Potgieter a couple times.
Yeah.
He's a Jersey guy. He's from our neck of the woods, so it's nice to see him playing good golf, get it
That's
back to
his
where it
third.
was.
That's his third second or fourth second. I mean,
I
he's
think
got
he had three last year. Yeah, his rookie year.
got an up there with a couple runner-ups, similar to our boy.
Yeah, and he needed that where he this year has not been good. He only had one top 10, I think, before this. So
Yeah,
it was a good week for Grayserman. Kirk, right? When Kirk's playing well, he's very much a hit or miss type of guy. When he's playing good, he'll be up there. When he's not, he'll miss the cut.
yeah.
So
He said that going into the U.S. Open, he was literally going to withdraw because he was playing. I heard they said it a bunch on the broadcast. He was playing so poorly, he didn't even want to play. I think, obviously, I don't really remember the result exactly, but had a decent result at the U.S. Open and clearly carried that over. And like you said, he is hit or miss, but when he's playing well, that baby draw is, it's there's not like a prettier shot in golf to watch.
No, it's guaranteed gonna draw five
Oh,
to 10 yards every time and
beautiful.
be right at the stick. And that was shocking to see him miss that short putt
On the par three, I know. I mean, that
playoff. Yeah.
is like 3 feet. It was shot. I know.
Yep. And then your other boy, Thorbjornsen,
Yeah.
another Northeast guy from New England, is he's a stud. I mean, he pipes the ball too. Now he's got JJ on the bag, right? Morikawa's old caddy. So I think that's great for him as a young guy, having a very experienced guy on the bag.
Yeah.
Um, I think he might have just missed out. Did he get the British Open exemption? And I think the top two guys that
I'm
were
not sure
exempt,
because it was probably because he ended up being T4 with it being a 3-man playoff. So I'm not sure if that might have pushed him
might have
out
that might have pushed
technically.
him out.
Yeah, but he's definitely playing like some solid golf. He's shown much more flash of the player that he is. And honestly, I've been talking about him for about probably 2 months now, pretty consistently week in and week out, because he's finally showing the type of player that he really is. And if the ball striking can continue, he stays healthy. That's been a little bit of an issue the earlier parts of his career. I definitely see him at these type of events and these lower fields in the sense of like not as many high in the world golf ranking, everything like that. I think he's probably going to pull one of these off by the end of the year if he keeps up this form and like you said with JJ on the bag.
Yeah, and I think him and Potgieter, they'll be top 10 players in the world at some point in their career. I mean, they'd have the talent, two guys that have won at every level, and
And
they
just
nuke the ball. Thorbs has a little more work to do, I think, on controlling the spin with his short irons,
yeah,
where he's trying to nuke a wedge on 18 from like 160 out, and
it's
he just
stupid.
left the club face a hair open. It wasn't a bad swing.
No,
It just was a slight push,
you have
and
to be precise with that back pin.
you have to be precise, and especially if you're hitting a full shot in there where it's going to spin, you can't flare it at all.
That's just been his thing. Don't like Mexico, a bit different of a situation, but 72nd hole, he was actually tied for the lead right in the middle of the fairway. Much windier there, but still, like had a wedge in his hands, left it short left, so didn't, execute the shot. Similar to this. He
He was
didn't,
Bermuda, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, the was that Bermuda
Where
when
Damon choked also.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he had a shot there, and then obviously at this past week he didn't. I don't think he knew if he needed birdie, but he was probably thinking that Kirk, like all
Yeah,
them
he was
behind him,
assuming.
needed a birdie to probably get into a playoff or at least have a chance, and just wasn't able to execute. But he still does. 17 hit a great drive, great approach to give himself an eagle look. 16 got a birdie to get himself back in it, so he has shown the ability to hit big shots. Just a matter of, like you said, those scoring irons and being better in those big moments.
Yeah, so it's nice to see guys that we see the same guys every elevated event, right? It's the same names, same story. Here it's some new faces. It's guys that a win changes the rest of their year, possibly career, right? Guy like Potgieter, he was going to make it into the top of the game either way,
Yeah.
but this
Still,
just accelerates it, right?
yep, allows him to build his schedule, everything like that, get in the big events, get on these courses that the tour is gonna play every year, and start to experience those. It's definitely a sort of just like a kickstart in a sense, like you were saying.
Yes. All right. So that was the Rocket Class. I was gonna say Rocket Mortgage, the
Yeah,
Rocket
they
Classic.
deleted it.
Don't know what happened there, but I guess they're not doing mortgages anymore. So we got the John Deere Classic this week, and then we'll do a little Ryder Cup talk at the end. But John Deere, it's another course the tour has been going to forever, right?
Yep.
Another birdie fest. They keep it soft no matter what. They've dealt with a lot of thunderstorms for as long as I can remember, right? It's been a lot of delays and a lot of rain at
Yep.
an event like this part of the country during this time of the year. But even if they don't, they're going to overwater it, right? It's a course where there's a lot of different holes where the birdie rate is out of control. There's three par fives that measure between 560 and 600,
Yeah.
and it's over a 30% birdie rate right on those holes. So It's very reachable. It's very easy for these guys. I mean, you get normal golfers that go there. The rough is pretty long, but the fairways are generous. So, these guys, accuracy seems to be a little bit more important than distance, but if you can hit it long and straight, that always takes care of what you're looking to do.
I mean, I definitely agree with all that. But then just a quick, just to give a couple past winners to give us like a range of what these guys are going to need to get to this week. I mean, last year was the lowest I think the event's ever been, and probably close to the like PGA Tour record. Davis Thompson was minus 28 last year to win it. Then you had two guys in the field this week. Thorbjornsen and Clanton were both T second at minus 24. And then 2023, Sepp Straka. I remember he almost shot 59 on Sunday when he was playing with Cam to close it out. He was at minus 21. And then you had Todd and Smalley, T second at minus 19. 2022, the Postman one, JT Poston at minus 21. And 2021, Lucas Glover one at minus 19. So, I mean, you're going to have to go out. And like you said, long and straight's going to give you an advantage any week. And obviously, this week, the shorter the club you have in your hands, the more opportunity you're going to get to have those birdie looks that you need. But I sort of look at this week similar to last week in the sense that it's a matter of who's in a good spot with their wedges, with having control, putting themselves like 5, 10, 15 feet on a consistent basis. And then who has that hot putter that's going to allow them to get to that minus 20 or lower number, really.
Yeah. I mean, DA Point said, I'm reading a quote here. For a lack of a better term, it's a putting contest, and that's why Steve Stricker and Zach Johnson win a lot because they make everything. I shoot under
Yep.
par every time I come here. It's just not under par enough to see the weekend. You got to cut like 5, 6 under most of the time, right? The putting contest, those can be volatile. I mean, you never know
Who's going to get
who's going to
hot?
be hot, right?
Yep.
Those are really the toughest ones to predict.
Yep.
And that's why last week, right, it makes it even more impressive for Potgieter because even though he drives it, he has wedge into every single hole. You got to make the putts to
Yep.
win.
Big man can roll it. But yeah, yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a similar, probably a similar number this week, right? Like that minus 20 to minus 25 range with how
Definitely.
good these guys are. And I wouldn't be surprised if it gets around what we saw with Thompson last year.
Like Michael Kim in 2018 when he won, gained 13 and a half strokes
He won
putting.
by like 8, right?
Yeah, he blew him out.
Did you? So I saw a thing today by Ron Kloss that he won that year, and then his other best result here was like a T55 with like 4 missed cuts, and he won by 8 the other year when he played well.
Yep.
Weird.
Yeah. No, it's one of those courses where all these guys are just so talented, so good tee to green.
Yep.
It's who can hit it inside of 15 feet and who can make the putts.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so let's get into our picks.
Yeah.
We got a couple similar picks this week, I believe, but I'll start off. My first pick is one of your picks. So is that your highest odds guy, Thorbs?
Yeah, we both got Thorbjornsen. He's currently at 33 to 1. So I mean, yeah, I think that's both of our lowest odd guys right now.
Yeah, I mean he's coming off the last 6 events. He has three top fives,
Yep.
right? The Punta Cana T2, as we talked about, didn't finish great. Zurich Classic T4, and then the T4 at the Rocket Classic last week. But before that, he hasn't played in over a month before that. The PGA
Yeah.
was his start before that.
Pulled out from
Pretty
like a
win.
wrist injury.
True, he had the wrist injury. He tried to qualify for the U.S. Open, didn't go well. But yeah, that's our guy this week. So
Yeah.
talk a little bit about him.
I mean, I've sort of been on him for a lot of the year ever since, like we said, Puerto Rico when he almost did get it done, but didn't execute on the 72nd hole there. But a couple quick things. So last week at the Rocket, he, like we just said, first tournament in like a month, and he, really showed no rust, really just picked up where he left off somewhat. And like JJ Jakovic, definitely a really big addition in the sense that, obviously Thorbjornsen's very talented, but having a caddy like that, that's elite player himself, but also very experienced at all these courses that he's going to play, it's going to help him plot around a little bit more, be a bit more efficient with his game to actually close these events when it's time. But last week at the Rocket, he gained 5.6 strokes putting. And then one also big thing that you sort of mentioned earlier as well, Bobby, he was T5 in driving accuracy and then also eighth in driving distance. So I mean, sort of long and straight like we're
That's
looking
a
for.
sick combo.
Yeah, so that's like obviously a great combo. And then to go along with that, the putter heated up a little bit, gained over 5.5 strokes for the week. So with that being said, and then obviously his ball striking as a whole, I think the time's really coming for Thorbjornsen to get that breakout win. I think he's going to be a popular pick this week, but honestly, I don't really care. I think 33 to 1. Also, hit last year T2, like we said, 2023 when he was an amateur T17. So he's played here a couple times, should be comfortable here. And I mean, I think he's going to have a really good shot when we get to Sunday.
I mean, he is a stud. Everything you said, I agree with. I've enjoyed following his career
Yeah.
at Stanford, right? Coming onto the tour through the PGA Tour U.
Yep.
He's got all the talent in the world. He's got a nice short game, right? It's pretty solid overall.
Yes.
And he absolutely nukes the ball. My one thing with him is just figuring out how to flight his irons a little bit better.
Yeah.
He likes to hit those high irons, high spinning shots where, even especially at a course like this where it's pretty soft a lot of the time, it's
Try to
going to
control
be
the spin.
control the spin because he's going to have wedges in all day. And some elevated greens and pins in the back where you gotta run them up to the hole and you can't hit that high spinny shot.
I,
It's going to rip 30 feet, 40 feet back.
I think that's somewhat what we saw with like I mean obviously not really comparing the players themselves, but like Rory earlier this year, he was having a really tough time with his I'd say like his scoring irons like 8-9 wedge coming into the year, going back to a couple years
More last
past.
year, yeah, a couple,
Yeah,
yeah.
he developed that saw-off finish that allows him to sort of drive in it a little bit better, control that spin. And I just think that's a shot that when you have the power like those guys, it's really necessary to have that with those scoring irons to control it. Just because how much like power they generate. You need that sort of easier swing, sawed-off swing, which is going to obviously help you get closer to those tuck pins, control the spins on like, those ondulations, everything like that.
Yeah, it's that's exactly what it's about. It's controlling the speed coming into the
Yeah.
ball. It's if you can't, it's going to be tough to really succeed out here and get victories. He'll have a nice career no matter what, but if he can figure out how to just knock it off a little bit,
Yeah.
knock that spin off, lower the ball flight, have more control on it, that's going to be he'll be off to the races after that. So we
Hopefully
got
that's
Thor.
something that maybe JJ brings up with just like his experience,
Exactly. Yep.
just a little thing like that to help him get over the edge with a certain part of the game.
Yeah, it comes down to practice and then trusting it.
Yeah, exactly.
So we got Thorb's our first pick. I'll do my second pick here. I got one guy 35 to 1. That's Mr. Jake Knapp. John was on him at the Honda when he shot 59 the first round and then kind of failed in the last round on especially at number 11. He hit in the water and that was kind of
Yeah.
the
Tried
end
to
of the
chip out
day.
and get it out. Yeah.
Yep. So I got Jake Knapp this week. I mean, he's obviously been playing pretty solid golf. T4 last week, one off the playoff. Just missed an eagle putt on 17. It was a great roll. It
Yeah.
kind of bounced a little right on him there for a second. RBC played all right. T27, not good golf for a couple weeks before that. Cut. T39, third at the Zurich. So
But he knows how to
little
go
hit or
low.
miss. What's that?
Knows how to go low at these types of events.
Exactly. I think this is his type of event. It's again generous fairways, very soft. So he knows how to flight his ball. Complete opposite of Thorbjornsen. He's like a very
Everything.
feely, everything's very flighted. And once he gets to a course like this and he can let the driver loose, he is so nuclear. I mean, he was 26 and a half yards further than the average distance last week. I mean, he was so nuclear off the tee.
He was behind only Aldrich. I just looked. He was second in the field.
Yeah. Second in the field. Aldrich, I saw, or I heard all drives, including holes where you hit less than driver. He was like 321 off the tee average for every single tee shot other than par threes, which is just insane when you consider that's more less than driver two off some tees. But
Yeah, he did it a couple rounds. He did it in the last round on what was that, 8? When I know the announcer, he still made birdie, but he did that a couple
he
times.
laid up, yeah. Greyserman drove it almost on the green on 8.
Yeah, and then he didn't get Brady, missed a 3-footer. That sort of costed him.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I got Jake Knapp this week. I mean, there's not much to back it up except last week was a similar sort of event. You got to go low. You
Yeah.
got to hit the driver far and straight. This week it's a similar story where, he's a streaky sort of player where when he's feeling good, his game normally stays good for a couple weeks, and I can see him taking advantage of a course like this.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think with his type of swing, which is like you said, all like tempo and about that rhythm, coming down and really controlling everything, it's when you get it into a good spot, you could obviously see some really good results. And maybe when little things off here, little things off there, when you're trying to timing it up so consistently, obviously that's where we probably saw some of those bad results come earlier this year. And then also in terms just the events itself, he goes low at these at the at these types of events on a pretty consistent basis in terms of like when the winning score is that, minus 20 or lower range. He's had some solid success there, so I definitely like that.
Yep. Who's your
Yeah.
second pick?
All right, so my second pick, I'm going with Clanton at a 35 to 1. And honestly, I was a bit hesitant coming in to go with Clanton because early on, obviously I'd say he's had the most pressure of any of these PGA Tour U kids coming out right away, just in terms of just like how big his name was because of how many top tens that he had as an amateur. So it's definitely like deserved, but I also think that's maybe caused him to struggle a little bit. But at the same time, I really think that he's somewhat coming into form, even though, we didn't see in the result last week he was T60th. Most of that was simply due to a poor putting week. So last week he gained both off tee and approach, and he came in T60th. So obviously he's striking it a little bit better than the result that we at least saw last week. And honestly, from tracking him in the past, he's usually a pretty decent putter. So I'm somewhat betting on that coming back into a better spot, maybe hopefully gaining a couple. Like we said, he had the T2 here last year, was at minus 24, so has shown the ability to go low in general, but obviously this course specifically as well. And at 35 to 1, this type of field, I again wouldn't be surprised to see Clan at least have a shot come Sunday.
Yeah, and like we said before the podcast, I can see him having his like Jordan Spieth moment,
Yeah.
having that breakout win at John Deere.
Mhm.
So
It's
yeah,
a
I
place
like
where
the
these
pick.
young kids like to win, it seems.
Yeah, I mean they have been used to probably similar courses to this more than a tougher PGA Tour course,
Exactly.
but it's one of those things. He's played well here, T2 last year,
Yeah.
and you would not be surprised to see him play well this week.
Nope.
All right, so I got my second pick, another local guy, Jersey boy, Chris Gotterup, plus 4,000, 40 to 1. He struck the ball pretty nicely last week. He gained on approach, he gained off the tee. He's very nuclear. So if he can just drive it a little more accurately and keep that distance, he'll have a lot of nice wedge approaches in.
Yep.
He's played well in events that are, fields that aren't the top of the PGA Tour class per se.
Yeah.
But the last, like 7 events, he has 4 or 5 top 20s. So he's
Played
playing
well.
good golf. T23 at the U.S. Open a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
And he's a guy that I trust that'll play good golf this week and at least give himself a chance to, go low on Sunday and have a chance at winning the event.
Yeah, I mean, he won what at the Myrtle, right? That was that.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that
last
was
year.
yeah. Last year he won there. That was an alternate field, and this, I mean, I know it's not an alternate field because there's not another one going on, but it pretty much is outside. A couple like Griffin Day are really the two bigger names in this event. So I mean, I definitely like that play. He's played solid golf, like you said, result wise, and he usually has some solid success at courses like we said that you need to go low.
Yep.
All right. Then my third guy, I'm going with Nico Eck. He's at 65 to 1. And honestly, I looked into Nico's numbers like overall for the past couple weeks, past couple months, and they're really not too pretty, but he did obviously have a little bit of a flash week last week when he finished minus 20. I think that was like T7 or something, but basically, two back of the playoff there. And again, for the numbers from last week, he gained 5.5 on approach and 4.5 putting. And overall this year on tour, he's fifth in shots gains putting. So obviously, he's a very good putter when it comes to getting the ball in the hole. And this week, like we said, that's going to be the main thing. That quote, I forget who you said before, but it's really a putting contest if your
EA
ball strikes
points.
in a yeah. So if the ball striking is in a decent spot, it basically becomes a putting contest. And I think if he's usually a decent approach player, and I think that obviously flashed a little bit last week. So, roll some of that momentum. Should be a decent course fit for him. He's not too deep off the tee, but he should like, just getting it out there, putting a wedge, scoring iron in his hand, and then from there just doing what he does on the greens. So 65 to 1, this type of field, I again wouldn't be surprised to see him at least have a chance on the weekend.
Yeah, I've always liked his game. I don't know why it reminds me of like Carlos Ortiz type of swing.
Yeah.
I think they're pretty similar players, and he's trendy sort of player. So when he's playing good, it's a good time to hop on and see what happens.
Yeah. All his best results I looked have come at those events, when the winner's in that minus 18 to minus 25 range. So that's really
He
when
likes those
yeah,
courses.
when his game has flashed a bit of an easier setup, and obviously that's what we're going to get this week.
Yeah. So a few names that I'm not gonna take in the outright market, but if they play a good first round, then I might get interested. So I like Steven Yeager again this week, even though he had that outburst last week. I could see him playing good golf on a course like this, just bomb it. Emiliano Grillo, the opposite. He's shorter, but he's very straight. He's striping his irons right now. He's a good guy in like fantasy golf, I
A good
believe this
number
week.
for him too.
Yeah, he's one guy that it's like, all right, those odds make sense.
Yeah.
And then there was Eric Cole as well as playing decent golf. I can see him playing well this week. But my last pick, Cam Champ, 75 to 1. I mean, the guy's a three-time winner on tour. It's tough to really remember those times. The last one was 2021 3M Open.
Yeah.
But he's won on courses where you go low, right? Sanderson Farms, 3M Open, Safeway Open. So he's all of his wins, he's gone extremely low. 17 under was the worst of the scores, right, for his winners. And he's coming off a T19 last week and a T9 in the RBC Canadian Open
Yeah, he's played well.
after playing a full Corn Ferry Tour schedule this year. So he's kind of caught in the middle of the tour and the Corn Ferry Tour. But his last three PGA Tour events were T15, T9, T19.
Yeah.
So I can see him playing good this week, especially because his putting has been positive for a while now, which has always been his weak point.
Yeah.
Especially when I take his three ball, he puts like he's blind. So it's good to see. I'll just take him outright this week. Cam Champ, bomb it off the tee, 22 and a half yards further than the average last week, 17% more accurate than the average last week. So he was driving the ball incredible. He gained like 7 strokes off the tee last
Yeah,
week.
he's first in the field, I think.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's a key around here. If you can stay out of the rough, give yourself those scoring opportunities. He knows how to, take the spin off to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But 75 to 1 is a good number for a guy like him. And he's only 30 years old after
Yeah.
he's been through a lot at this point in his professional career.
Exactly. And it definitely has seemed like he's been finding his game. Obviously, like you said, those two results, but I even think just like thinking back to just seeing him, whether it be Corn Ferry events or on a tour, some of those events earlier this year, he's been showing, little flashes. Maybe I'm not who he used to be completely, but at least, some improvement to getting back to form. And he's definitely putting the ball better. So, I mean, 75 to 1. If he, can put himself in position, like we just said, he's a three-time winner and not many of the guys that are on the leader that will probably be on the leaderboard will have that same experience. So I think that's a pretty good shot.
Yep. You
Yeah.
got any more?
No, so for right now, I'm just gonna stick with those three. Maybe when I post them, I'll add another one. But it really nothing standing out. I'm gonna try and find one more where maybe there's a longer shot involved there. But at least for right now, I'll just stick with a little bit of a smaller card for the week after win.
Yeah. So we got again 17 of the last 16 events. Since we started the podcast, we have outright winners. We're on a good path right now. We're heating up for the end of the season. We
Yeah.
got the after this week Scottish Open, British Open.
Can't believe
Uh,
major seasons though. They got to move that PGA back to August.
yeah, you got to. The summer can't end in the
It's a
golf
joke.
summer. Yeah, it's
Uh,
not a great schedule. The elevated event schedule stinks. We have
Yeah,
too
it's
many
called
elevated events
it's a
before the
three
end of
month
March.
it's a 3 month schedule, it feels like at times.
Yeah, it's they're trying to appease to these guys too much.
Yeah.
The fans should matter a little bit more when these guys are making millions of dollars. We're spending our money to watch the events, and then they don't care.
Yeah. No,
Yep.
I mean, hopefully I mean, it's the so the PGA is the tour is they actually decide the PGA champion. Like that's theirs, right?
No, the PGA Championship is owned by the PGA of America,
So they,
which
I
is
guess, I'm sure the PGA, they talked to the PGA Tour about that, but I hate that they moved it up. At least now that I'm really into it, it's just too quick of a, all the elevated events and all the majors are over by the middle of July. I mean, it
yeah. No, I
sucks.
agree. I'm sure they definitely talk about it, but that's something they decided to do. August is tough in terms of, a lot of places it's too hot, there's storms, stuff like that, but go play Bethpage Black, go play the
Northeast.
Northeast. Yeah.
It's to be all Northeast, and you'll have some, obviously, I'm not, some really elite golf courses that you can choose from consistently.
Yeah, because May takes out, it shouldn't take out, but they say it takes out Bethpage and uh where'd they play Oak Hill and those types of courses because 50, 60 degrees potentially, and it's you never know what's going to happen, but
Exactly. And
those are
now
the best courses.
yep, and then now you just the PGA Tour doesn't really have any stops in the Northeast, not the Northeast in general, but New York specifically. And if you,
They only have a couple. They only have the Travelers. We got lucky this year with the Truist, but
yeah,
there's nothing else.
there's just so many elite golf courses in the Northeast that really, maybe like can challenge these guys distance wise, but also just like how they're the rough is
Green
so much more penal than
complexes.
some of these areas, the green complex, just so much that could go into it. And they don't visit them normally, so they would be good major events, but whatever.
Yeah. I mean, a course like Arcola, where Nico caddied for me
I
at.
think they're coming there. I think the or the US Open maybe.
No, Aronimik is going to the PGA.
Okay.
Aronimik is in PA. That's where actually Lex and I went to the BMW when we were in college, and she fell in love with Keegan. That was that, and he decided to win that week after that. So that was I do remember. Aronimik's a good course. I feel like it'll go pretty low for the PGA, but
Yeah.
it's a good quality golf course. We'll probably be attending that next year. That's next year PGA.
All right.
But all right, that's another episode, Brothers on the Green. We're gonna get another winner this week. One out of the next two, the Scottish or the British. Scottish might be a feeling out phase
We
over.
gotta get it. We gotta get a major.
Yeah, we got to get a major this year. So we appreciate everybody listening, everybody giving us a chance, and you know, one day it'll be big time. Peace.